Hmm. Yeah, I'm still processing things for myself. I mean, I could do my. If I don't do it now, then I'm not going to get it done later, but at the same time, I want to give myself the space to talk about it without it being entangled with Sky, so that way if someone wants to watch my daily Sky recording, they don't get dumped on. They don't have the entirety of what I'm feeling right now and what I want to verbally process aloud dumped on top of them. Because there's this YouTube channel, Lessons of, it focuses on Adventure Time stuff, or at least that's what most of the recommended stuff I've seen so far it focuses on. And the video that sparked my feelings right now is just the episode where love breaks Finn and what it teaches. The title of the thumbnail has just simple text. Moving on hurts. And really, it just reminded me of everything that I'm still working through. The original sentiment of why I walked away. It wasn't because the other person didn't care. It's because I knew that I was sorting through my own issues and that they were mine to deal with. That the other person shouldn't feel forced to deal with them alongside me. Shouldn't feel like they should have to live up to my expectations when my expectations were absurd and unreasonable for where I was at. I don't want to control. It's the whole reason why I don't subscribe to trying to live fantasy and reality. It's just that fantasy. And for however that gets interpreted, oh well. That says something about someone else's perspective. But for me, when I got attached to that dense dork, I didn't see my expectations. I didn't see the things that would happen. In that moment, I just saw a scared, small girl taking her first steps forward out into a world that she didn't even know existed. And I wanted to protect that. I wanted to protect it so much that I fought against my own damn feelings. I fought against my issues, and I'll keep fighting against my issues. Because that girl doesn't need another adoring fan or whatever the fuck happens. That girl doesn't need someone chasing after her because of how she presents or otherwise. She just needs a friend. And I'm crying because I can't be that friend. I'm not ready to be that friend, despite all my efforts to do so. Because she doesn't deserve to get controlled, manipulated, tricked, or put to some into the mold of someone else's expectations and ideas. She deserves to live as herself and grow into the reality of who she is, flaws and all. may never get that original meeting point out of my head, that idea of her. I can at least do my best to try and keep to my own space, to not bother her, so that way she has her own space to grow as she chooses, to learn and change without having to worry about anything similar to a parental figure pushing personal expectations upon her that don't necessarily aim at where she wants to go, at who she wants to be. She deserves to be free, even if it means she makes mistakes. And that's the idea I fell in love with, is that scared, but still somewhat brave girl trying her damnedest. And she did try. She tried to be reasonable. She tried to be understanding. She tried to ignore all my issues as a friend. But it wasn't going to keep her from getting hurt by me if that's all she was doing. And I couldn't handle that. I couldn't accept that being the end result. I couldn't accept the idea of my own issues silencing a girl who had only just taken her first steps out into living as herself. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did that. I'd never be able to live with myself if I did that. And so some childish, immature part of me that I'd locked away from years was suddenly just free when I couldn't stop my feelings from overtaking me. First time I ever admitted to having a crush on someone. Not that it turned out very well. At least not in that way. Not in the feeling so heavy that they overwhelm kind of way. I don't want to live like that. Sure, fever can be fun, but if it destroys who people can choose to be, then ultimately it's not healthy. That is why I'm trying my damnedest to let go. To give that person, that dense dork, who I scared the shit out of, space as much as I can. Even if it hurt them, for me to leave, for me to just be honest, it was the better of two terrible options. It was the better of two terrible options. Better to fix the mistake halfway through than live with the full results. It's not good, but it's better than it could have been. I'm glad the dense dork respects me enough to recognize that I'm not in a healthy place, that I can't handle being around them. Because if I have any bets, they still care about me, even if they don't choose to show it. Because, if anything, these past experiences have shown that showing that they care would put them right back into the fires when that would just hurt them. I'm proud of that dense stork, even if their flaws still frustrate me, because they are growing. They are changing and learning, even while I'm not there. That's the best possible ending this had, at least for them. I may hope for the absurd, but the reality is the absurd is unreasonable. It's only one step removed from perfection, and perfection has no room left to live in, which is why I aim at the absurd, to give space for things to grow and change and move and live. I don't like perfect exactly because of that reason. Perfect is dead. Absurd is alive. That's all I really need to hold on to. At some previous point in my life when I was younger, more naive and still caught up in the conditioning of the world, I may have had thoughts of wanting to take over the world to try and help people. But the reality of that is, at some point, if you try to help someone and they're not accepting your help, you risk pushing them further away, regardless of if your advice would help them or not. You, at some point in trying to keep others from hurting themselves, you restrict their freedom and so they choose to rebel, regardless of if what you're trying to do is going to be helpful or not. And insisting on choosing to be helpful, that's just going to make someone rebel all the more. To pull away, to keep to themselves, to run right towards some of the very things that you would worry about. And that's one of the reasons why I don't want to take over the world. But that wasn't the first reason I worked through. That was just when it came to a place of caring. When it came to a place of selfishness and everything else, of being able to do whatever I want, the conclusion I got to was, if I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, and ignore responsibility and ignore everything else, at what point is it really worth it? At what point have I actually earned the result? At what point have I changed my status quo to the point where what I chased after is no longer special to me? If every day is a day off, then unemployment doesn't really feel all that great. If every day is a work day, then being employed doesn't feel that great. It's an uneven balance of the two that makes life work, just like many other things. Hmm. I don't like where I was, but I can at least acknowledge that no, I'm not a liar. when it comes to my own actions. I keep a track record of every time I've messed up, every time I've slipped up and made a mistake, especially in regards to this situation. I don't get to run from it. And I've never had permission to run from it. Not from myself or from other people. And I don't ever want permission to do so because that would just make me the worst of myself. That would make me into an overgrown child who doesn't give a shit about the impacts of their actions. That's not who I want to be.